Education Manager, and I work at the Abrams Engel Institute for the Visual Arts, the UAB's Art Museum at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. So we're doing a series called AEIVA Behind the Scenes, and we're talking to members of our staff, looking at objects in our collection. And so today I am going to do an object lesson with you. This is an activity you guys can do at home with whoever you're social distancing with, or by yourself. You're welcome to follow along and do this object lesson, or you are in this activity, or you can take this, turn it into a game and do it around your house with whatever artwork you have on the wall, or out in nature with what you see in nature. It's really up to you. This is just tools that you can do and create an activity while we're all kind of stuck at home. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm about to put an image up on the screen. This is an object from our collection. And I want you guys, when you first see it, take a few seconds, welcome to pause the video, and think about your gut reaction. What's the first word that comes to your mind? Is it a feeling? Is it an emotion? Is it a literal word? It's really up to you guys, whatever your gut reaction is. And think about it and keep that in your mind. So I'm going to share the screen here. So what's the first word that comes to your mind? And feel free to pause the video. I am now going to share with you what the first word that comes to my mind, and that's the word horse. So the word horse is what comes to my mind because that is the main thing that I see in this image. It's the thing that stands out to me the most. And I want you guys at home to pause the video again, and I want you to think about and talk, if you have people there with you or you're doing this via FaceTime, whatever you'd like. I want you to describe the image to yourselves or to each other and think of an opposite word. So go ahead and pause the video, take about 3 to 5 minutes to do that or less, and check back in here. And now I'm going to do that with you guys and describe what I see and what my opposite word is going to be. So what I see here beyond the horse is that there's a rein around his neck, and it's being taken back to this person here who's on his back. Initially, my mind jumps to the word man, and I'm going to come back to that as to why the word man is the first thing that popped to my mind. And then from there, I start to see this fence back here. This looks like a fence that was very quickly put up. It's raw, it's not sanded down, it's not perfect. And then it looks like it's in a desert atmosphere. And that's because of the coloring of the whole photograph, of the ground right here. So those are things that are really popping out to me. Now, I want to go back to that horse because that was my first word. He doesn't look too happy here. This person or this man on his back seems to be trying to constrain him. So at first I thought maybe my opposite word should be man, but maybe my opposite word is actually sad or constrained. So maybe that's my second or opposite word. Instead of this wild horse, or when I've done this activity in the past, some of the initial gut reactions were the word freedom. This horse is rearing, you don't necessarily see the person on his back. Maybe he's enjoying being out in the environment. Who knows? The reason I initially thought man goes into this composition as a whole. So the coloring, the floor, the fence, the person, and associating with this, with the word man, all comes from my visual literacy, my culture. So old Hollywood Wild West films, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times would have this coloring to it. And in those videos, the people that we typically see on horseback are men. They are the ones that are going off on the adventure. They're the ones that are working at the ranch, on horseback. And so that's what my mind initially popped to, because that's what my visual culture was telling me, that's what I'm seeing. That's what my visual vocabulary was giving me. So it took a moment for me to step back and shift my gaze again and say, well, is that what's actually going on? Is this what the Wild West actually was? No. There's no Native Americans here. There's conflict in the relationship between the horse and the rider at this moment. But we don't see this full story of what the Wild West actually was. And also that term, Wild West, is problematic in of itself, right? So the horse is probably not used to having a rider on his back. And so that's why eventually I decided to settle on the words constrained or sad, because that seemed opposite of why I initially said the word horse. So this is an activity you guys can do at home, and I encourage you to do it during this time. Make it into a game, pick a different artwork every day of the week, and just go through your house and have fun with it. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the object itself and why it's at AEIVA and why it's in our collection. So we have just under 2,000 objects in our collection, and a lot of them are photographs. And in particular, we're very proud of our large format Polaroid collection, which is what this is. So large format Polaroids are made by, made by this large camera. The Kodak Polaroid camera came to Birmingham twice, or to UAB specifically twice, in 1985 and 2003. And this is actually an image from the catalog that was put out in 2003 in association with this camera coming to UAB. And this is a camera that's larger than I am. It can't really tilt very well. So some of the artists had to get really creative in how they were using this camera. And we have a lot of great photographs that we love that came out of this. And so since then, we have continued to collect photographs and in particular, large format Polaroids, which led us to David Leventhal, who worked largely in large format Polaroids between the 1980s and 1990s. So he's no longer producing them because no one really is. These are 20 by 24, and the film to make these large format Polaroids isn't really being made anymore, so it's hard to access. So he's now working more in a digital medium, but we're really lucky to have a large set of his large format Polaroids. So this is a Polaroid. When I say Polaroid, you're thinking of this really small picture that, you know, there's a song where you shake your Polaroid. That's what this is. It is a Polaroid photograph. And specifically, it is a Polaroid Polacolor ER land film that was created by David Levinthal in 1988. It's part of his Wild West series. And what's great about Levinthal's images is that they are all constructed with toys. So at first glance, unless you really focused in on this right here, this may have initially looked like a real photograph. And the reason I like doing the activity that we did with it is because it's not, it's a toy. So in looking like something real, it's actually already challenging you to question your perception, question your view, question what that visual literacy in your mind that's crafted by your culture is already telling you to look at, and then question what this is. So David Leventhal watched a old Hollywood film while he was making this. And so the composition, the coloring, where it's located in a desert type atmosphere is highly influenced by that film. And that is also something that influenced my perception of it as I was going through the object lesson with you all. So I encourage you guys to check back and see more about AEIVA behind the scenes and learn more about our collection and about our staff. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. So keep checking back. Bye.